How much of what you would like to do once your entire system is in were you able to do last year and then might you be able to do this year?
Yeah, we don't make excuses. The system that we implemented last season was our system, and obviously, we got to add some pieces to the puzzle. I mean, we all know that we need a pass rusher that can effectively affect the quarterback on multiple occasions throughout the course of a ball game. But we need to cover better. We need to fit some runs better. We need to do some different things better. So we're not making any excuses. Obviously, going into a second year of program, it's a lot easier and it's more complex for the kids that they can do more because they know more. So we'll do a little more than we did last season. But our fundamental way of doing things, that's never going to change. We need to do a better job of running, tackling, affecting the quarterback, covering. We need to do those things better.
Do you have a target number for how much what's an effective amount of affecting the quarterback? We need to change his position 40% of the time, 50% of the time. Is there a goal there?
Well, you know what? We don't talk in terms of sacks. We don't talk in terms of any of those things. We talk in terms of just affecting the quarterback. So when we talk in terms of affecting the quarterback, obviously, if he throws it 20 times, you want to affect the quarterback, 30, 40% of those times that you're getting them off rhythm, off spots, whether you're in his face, whether you're keeping your hands up. We got some bigger guys up there now. We got some bigger guys coming in. So we just got to affect them in different ways, whether it's a 5-man pressure, whether it's a 4-man rush. And I think that's one of the things that we just got to do a better job of, not pressuring and being able to rush with 4, or sometimes pressuring and being able to just, cause a little more havoc.
Do you have an inkling yet how you will replace Darius's 9 sacks? Or do you have to see what you got in the spring and figure that out?
Yeah, we'll definitely have to figure that out. Dennis Warnham is a guy that we hold in high regard. He had a really good offseason. He had a really good freshman season. So we're excited about Dennis. He can do some things rushing the quarterback. Obviously, we need more, whether it be Sky Moore going out there helping a little bit, whether it be Bryson Allen Williams going out there helping a little bit, whether it be one of the young guys that we recruited coming in being able to help us. And that's what it's going to take. It's collective effort. It's not one guy that can replace that. It got to be something that we do from a fundamental standpoint, schematic standpoint of how to affect the quarterback.
On the practice field and in the meeting room, how much will your guys hear from their coaches about last year's results?
No.
Not just 56-7, but whatever it might be. Remember when they did this to you?
That ain't something we want to beat in their head. They understand that we're a 6-7 ball club. I'm sure they'll hear a lot from you guys. They hear a lot from their peers out in school. So it ain't something that we're going to constantly beat in their head. Coach Dillman do a really good job of just running that through, while they're lifting weights, just subliminal messages that way of understanding where we are as a program and where we need to go as a program. So, that ain't something that I kind of talk about the negative. I want to kind of enforce the positive things that we're doing. I want to continue to do that. So, no, we understand where we are. We understand what we want to be, and we understand what it's going to take to get there. And if we just do what we're coached to do, then we'll be fine.
Are you closer, speed-wise, to where you want to be in the SEC with the incoming class and some of the off-field developments? Off-season developments?
Yeah, obviously, probably a step closer, but until everyone get on campus, we won't know that for sure. So I would be neglected to say that right now. But what I would say is this: our kids are working hard, and that's one of the things that we want to be. We want to be a blue-collar outfit. And I'm sure you heard that from Coach Muschamp a bunch. And that's something that we did at times, but not consistent enough. And that's something that we need to address, and that's something that we will address moving forward. We're going to be a tough football team. And it's not just talking about it. We have to actually go out there and practice that way, and then that will translate to playing that way. So that's the next step for us, is taking it from the practice field to the game field.
A guy like Jamias Williams, high expectations. Is he a guy that you foresee stepping right into your secondary, making an early impact?
Obviously, you don't have an opportunity. I never promise playing time to recruits. That's something that I don't do. How much they play is going to be predicated on him. Is he coming in? Is he ready to go? Is he working right now? Is he going to be able to come in and learn what to do and how to do it? I've coached some really good players, and some of them didn't play as a freshman. Some of them didn't. Keanu O'Neal, first-round pick for the Atlanta Falcons. He didn't play much on defense as a freshman, but he played as a sophomore and played as a junior and left early. So, that ain't something that we're going to talk about. For him, it's going to be coming in, learning the system, adapting with his teammates, building a bond with his teammates, and playing hard. And if he does that and he's the best player, then he'll start. If he's good enough, then he'll play. If he's not, he'll watch. That's with everyone on the football team, and we all hold him accountable the same way.
What kind of special talent do you think Sky Moore is, from what you observed from another sideline, and now you've got the chance to work with him?
The first thing that you wouldn't know from another sideline is he's highly, highly intelligent as a football player. He grabs schemes and concepts very well. He's done a terrific job in that regard. As an athlete, I mean, he can run. I mean, shoot, he was thinking about playing safety at one point, and he's very capable of doing that if he wanted to do that. He's a very athletic kid, and we're excited to have Sky back, and he's been a treat in the locker room. Our guys respect him and respect his playmaking ability and the way that he approached practice, the way he approached the game, and we're excited about him.
How good do you feel about your linebacking core overall, considering what you've lost and what you've got coming back?
That's right. Well, right now in spring, we're a little limited in guys, but obviously with T.J. Brunson, a guy that's coming along very nicely from here in town, he's doing a really good job. Bryson Allen's a guy that played a lot of football, and Sky's a really good player that played a lot of football as well. But obviously the guys that's bringing in as far as Eldred Thompson, all right, some of those guys, Sherrod Green, all right, getting those guys here as soon as possible, Damani Staley, just some of those guys that's going to be able to add speed and add a tremendous value to our program.
Rob, it seemed like the pass defense got off to a good start last year and really got rolling, and then towards the end of the season it kind of looked like it faded off. A lot of more big plays from opposing offenses. What do you attribute that to?
You know, just consistency, you know. And as a DB, you know, my motto about a defensive back is a DB that's never been beaten is a DB that's never played. A DB that's consistently beaten is a DB that won't play. And we got to do a better job of keeping the ball in front of us. And I thought we did that nicely at times, like you stated. But, you know, we have to be more consistent in everything we do. We have a little saying around here, everything is important. So, and that's how we want to play the game of football. Everything is important. Every down is important. Every possession is important. Every play is important. And if we just have that attitude, we'll finish the right way.
How would you summarize the first season Jamarcus came at here, and what kind of offseason improvement have you seen?
Yeah, obviously Jamarcus need to get stronger. That's one of the emphasis that Jamarcus and I had. Obviously, you know, he had some exciting plays. He had a couple of plays in the Tennessee game, a couple of plays in the ECU game. He had some plays throughout the course of the season, but the overall body of work needs to improve. And that's one of the topics that me and him had during this offseason, that he got to be more of a consistent player, and it's going to be attributed to him in the weight room, you know, taking the onus on himself to get bigger, faster, stronger. And if he does that, then he'll have a chance to have a special season and have a chance to play beyond college.
You know, it's only been 2 recruiting cycles and 1 season on the field, but how would you describe the turnover in the secondary that you guys have had?
You know, obviously, we're going to continue to recruit. We're going to continue to bring in guys that can help us, or we feel that can help us. And the thing about in the secondary, the good secondaries that I've been around, whether I was a player or whether I was a coach, was we competed, you know, and it was competition in the room. And if you have competition in the room, when you build 13, 14 guys, and they're all talented players, and, you know, those defensive backs, every team you go to, they're all selfish. They all want to start. And if they continue to do that and want to start so bad, and they'll work so hard at practice to start, then we'll have something. You know, and that's kind of where we are as far as the room is concerned. We're adding guys piece by piece, and we'll continue to do that. But at the end of the day, we have to have guys that's competitive and guys that are willing to lay it out on the line and understand that it's going to be 80,000 people watching, and assuming everyone has 2 eyeballs, 160,000 eyeballs, and they all looking at the football. So when you start looking in terms of that, we got to have guys that got guts, and that's what we're trying to build in that room.
It sounds like you kind of answered my question there, but when you're out evaluating guys to come play a defensive back for you, I guess starting with the safeties, what are some of those main factors, criteria that you want to see in a guy that you want to?
Yeah, obviously at the safety position, a little different than the corner position as far as from a physicality standpoint. You want a guy that's going to tackle, a guy that like contact, has contact speed. And when I talk in terms of contact speed, when he get right there to arm shake distance, I mean, a guy exploding through his hips and doing all the things like that. Obviously, you want him to have ball skills. You want him to be a guy that communicates. So that's one of the things that you need to really be careful about when you recruit a safety to play in our defense, because, you know, guys going to have to talk, guys going to have to communicate. So, you know, we always play with guys that were probably former quarterbacks, guys that played multiple sports, maybe point guard when they was in high school, that they was contributing, they was doing all the things like that. So, you know, but when you start talking in terms of a safety, you want a guy that's maybe anywhere from 5'10", 5'11", to 6'1", 6'2", a guy that can get in the box, that can tackle, a guy that can cover out on the edges, and a guy that got instincts to play in the deep part of the field. A little different when you start talking about corner, the communication part of it, and it's not a lot of communication out there. Those guys are a little different, almost like kickers. They play out there by themselves, and a lot of weight on their shoulders when the ball snaps. But pre-snap is not a lot of thinking out there at corner. But you want guys that's very athletic, that can change directions, guys that really got football instincts. And when we talk in terms of football instincts, be able to play blocks, get off blocks the right way, it's hard to simulate, how to get off a block and when to get off a block in practice. You got to do it in game-like environments and different things like that. So, just looking for film work and doing your film study to see guys do that.
How about with the nickel or dime? Is it a little harder to maybe evaluate those guys because they're probably playing on the outside? Or
either playing outside or playing running back. But you same thing. You want guys that have the ability to have zone instincts and man instincts. Tough enough to blitz, tough enough to be able to get in some of the run game stuff that we actually do. So those guys are like a combination between a safety and a corner. So those guys that you're not quite sure he's big enough maybe to be a safety. You don't know if he's as agile and quick enough to play outside at corner, but he got really good football instincts. He's physical at the point of attack, and is a guy that's smart and that can learn, and a guy that loves football.
What did you like from Chris Lamons last year? It seemed like he was a guy that kind of matured and improved.
Yeah, I would think in the secondary, Chris Lamons probably played the best. He did a really good job as the season progressed of, buying into what we're talking about as far as from a tackling standpoint. He was always a good cover guy, and he had his hands on some balls this year, which was good for him. But it's just work ethic every single day with Chris. The consistency in his performance, and he's doing a better job of that. And if he continues to do that, then he'll have a special season. But Chris is doing really well, and I'm excited about him. This is last spring ball. I told him the next time he'll be a senior in anything will be a senior citizen today, and so you got to take advantage of this.
How much more comfortable are you in this year? Not only is your second year here, you know the guys, but it also seems like y'all have improved the depth here with the last recruiting class.
You always have second year in the program is always a lot easier than your first year. It was my first year being defensive coordinator. I was nervous. I'm sure it was their first year out there playing. They were nervous. So obviously, as we get comfortable with each other, we get comfortable with the schematics of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and we start to bring guys that can do some of the things that we've done in the past, and we try to kind of correlate those things and what we done last year and come up with the best package to be successful.
Jalen Dickerson,
I'm very, very excited about Jalen. The first thing I say about Jalen, he's a worker. In our fourth quarter program, he did a tremendous job. A guy, that was on top of the lines a bunch of the times. A guy that took some leadership, being a young guy, which is hard to do being a mid-year. Obviously, playing safety in our defense, it's a little complex. And so Jalen does a really good job of coming in, meeting extra, trying to learn what to do so he can have a chance to play. And he's doing a good job of that. But I'm excited about him. He'll rep with the twos, so he'll get a ton of reps until his tongue drag, and it'll be helpful for him. So I'm excited about Jalen. Obviously, him coming as a mid-year is helpful to him. It's helpful to us, and we're excited about where he can get to.
How about Caleb, a guy who's had a taste of this level before?
Obviously, Caleb is a guy who adds some experience and some value to, we'll play Caleb right now at the nickel. He can play outside at the corner. He can play safety. So he's a guy that's very intelligent and can learn different things. And, I'm excited about him. Can't wait to see him on the field compete against our guys. Obviously, he had a couple of days of bowl practice, but really didn't do much. So I'm excited about him, and I can't wait to see him out in spring and competing and going for it like the guys and giving him an opportunity to give him some playing time.
And in general, with the other guys who signed, you'll get here later. How good do you feel about just kind of the mixture of different things that those guys are sprinkling to?
Obviously, when you start up front with a guy like Javon Kinlaw, Aaron Sterling, some of those guys, Devon Bowen, that can add pass rush right now. You start talking in terms of Aaron Sterling. You start talking in terms of some of the backers that we brought in that increase our team speed right now. And that's something that Coach Muschamp been hitting on. We have to get faster. We got to get stronger. We got to be more physical. And that's a lot of things you have to do to be a really good football team. But I think we took a step in the right direction with the guys that were signed. Obviously, now it's time for those guys to get here. And all the stuff is good. Or what they did in high school, what they did in junior college is all fine and dandy. But now it's time for those guys to get to the college level and see if they can duplicate that and do it again.
The youth of you guys are going to have up front on the line. I mean, is it difficult, like daunting, knowing that you've got that much experience, or do you guys just look at it as a challenge and say, hey, let's get after it?
Play the cards we're dealt. We don't make excuses around here. Coach Muschamp don't make excuses. I don't make excuses. Our program don't make excuses. That's just not what we do. The things that we're going to talk about is how can we get better every single day, and we're going to defeat the day. And that's going to be the way that we approach practice. That's going to be the way we approach class. That's going to be the way we approach the training room. We're going to defeat the day. And whatever cards we're dealt, we're going to play them. And we're going to play them to the best of our ability. And if our kids just play hard, you look at, a good friend of mine is Dan Quinn for the Atlanta Falcons. And you look at the turnaround that they had making it to the Super Bowl. No one in a million years that had any kind of money would have bet that the Atlanta Falcons would have played in the Super Bowl. No one would have thought that. But the guys brought into the brotherhood. They brought into playing for each other. They brought into the physicality of the game and the effort that it takes to be successful. And I witnessed that with my own two eyes, and that's something that I share with our guys a lot. And Dan is a really good friend of ours, so he stopped by sometimes, and he's able to talk to our team, and that means a lot. But to see what he did with that program, who's to say we can't do the same here? And that's got to be our outlook, and that's how we'll approach it.